It's time for Inside the Patch with your Las Vegas Raiders. Here's Gnarley Charley.
All right, as we do every week on Inside the Patch, Raider Insider Brian No. Brian, what's up?
Gnarly, I'm licking my wounds right now. Are you kidding me? If you were to script how heartbreaking of a loss it could have been in the Raiders' last game, I don't think you could have written a better script than that.
Yeah. Well, I take it to the point where if you like in poker sometimes, if you're playing, you can run the hand a few times. I don't think if we ran these situations 10 times, it would come out that we lost all 10 times. I mean, we could be undefeated barring 4 plays. 4. Undefeated. We're so close.
Yeah, pretty close. Of course, I would have loved to find out how the game would have played out if Josh Jacobs converted the 2, right? Or if they kicked the extra point. We'll never know. We'll never know the answers to those questions, but aggressive with about 4.5 minutes to go for 2. It didn't work out. They still had the chance at the end with their final drive and just couldn't get into Carlson range. And he's got range, Gnarls. Yeah. So you can't get into Carlson's range. That's on the offense, man.
Well, the one thing I heard all week from the hardcore Raider fans is the refs hate us. This league wants to screw us over. And I'm like, first off, we can't go off that because you can't trust the integrity of the league if you really think there's a conspiracy theory against the Raiders. And I don't believe so. And you sit there and cry about something. It's like a guy that's breaking up with his girlfriend or his wife dumped him, and he's pleading his case. And you just out at a bar trying to have a drink. I'm like, I understand. That's horrible. But I really don't want to hear it because it's not going to change anything. And it's like, I don't get it. It's like, I'm not going to waste my time blaming the referees, blaming this, blaming that. As much as, the Tuck rule killed us. That one year, we probably lost to the Rams in the Super Bowl anyway. I mean, just you can't go that way.
Well, what I would say is 2 things. I don't know what they're crying about, right? And I just threw a there out there, Gnarls. It's we over here. But in this case, I don't know what they're crying about because Davante Adams, he didn't have 2 feet down. Right. It looked like a catch in live time. It looked like a catch the first time I saw the replay, I'll be honest. And I don't remember who pointed it out. I think it was the referee that commentates and all of that. And he said he didn't have full possession with 2 feet down. And that was right. That was the right call. And you can't play the we always get screwed by the refs card when Chris Jones got absolutely screwed. He sacks Derek Carr. He doesn't land on top of him with his full body weight. That's the whole protection. That's the whole rule. He didn't even do that. It negated a sack. It negated a fumble recovery. So I don't want to hear the refs always screw us. This is not the week to play that card, Raider Nation.
Well, what I heard from them was because of the blown call you're talking about, they had to make it up to the Chiefs. And so then they went the other way. And I did see some footage of some clear holds, like jersey grabbing. But like I said, what is this going to do to our season? Nothing. We're wasting time talking about it, really. I mean,
it did sound, I will say this, Gnarly, and you bring up something here where it's not just the Davante Adams play. That was the first thing that popped into my mind that maybe Raider fans were whining about. But you did see the refs. There was one, I can't remember. It was a punt return, and they initially threw a flag, and they picked it up. It's like, don't hate us. That's right. We blew that with the Chiefs. No block in the back with the Chiefs over there. Like, so they were shook. There's no doubt about that.
Well, let's be honest. Where are we at now? Well, we're on a bye. So we have a couple weeks to recover, and then we have Texas at home in Las Vegas. If we do not win that game handily, well, then maybe we aren't as good as I think we are. But if we play as good as we played against the Chiefs, I don't think anybody can beat us. If we play that game, anybody else, we're winning.
Well, that's the thing, man, is if you still look at this season glass half full, you're not crazy to do so.
Right.
Because you mentioned this next string of games coming up here, very favorable. You look at the next 6 games, Texans, Saints, Jags, Colts,
Right.
Broncos, Seahawks. Like,
All
it's
with
possible you go 5-1, roughly. If you go 5-1, you got a decent shot
we're in the
to
playoffs.
make the playoffs. Now, if you go 3-3, your season's probably a wrap.
Right.
But that's the test right here. They've been so close in numerous games and haven't been able to close the deal. So we're still, I think they're undervalued right here, right now as a team, but they'll prove it over the next 6 games if they are a legitimate squad or not, because these are the games that you have to win.
You know who Mac Hollins is? He's our wide receiver that's kind of been our guy this year. I watched an interview with him. He walked on the set of Good Morning Football with no shoes. The guy's walking around New York with no shoes. And I'm like, I kind of like this guy. And then he's got his big old giant hair everywhere. And they start asking him some questions. And he's just like, yeah, man, I would play better without shoes. And I'm thinking, do we have barefoot kickers? Could we have a barefoot wide receiver?
Interesting. Now, the first thing I think of is a basketball player, Antoine Walker.
Okay.
And he was at Kentucky and then played in the NBA for years. And he had a commercial. I think it was for Adidas. And he was like, if I could play barefoot, I would. Now I can, because the shoes were supposed to be like you were in your bare feet. So maybe they need to revive that with Mac Hollins over there. But he was walking around New York City barefoot. Is that true?
Yeah, like Buddy the Elf. Just does not care and eat gum under the counters. I'm just like, but his demeanor is so laid back. And I guess one of the guys that was interviewing played on him in Miami. And he said Mac was the guy that would complain about the little things to the coach because everyone else was scared to do it. And he go, "Are you still doing it?" He goes, "Oh yeah. Sometimes, when you're going to try to recycle the hole where the cans is too small, that needs to get fixed. Or we need our pictures after the game so I can get them up on Instagram immediately. You guys can we make that happen faster?" And I was like, "Oh," he goes, "Someone's got to do the little things. Someone's got to complain, and that's what I'm there for." So I appreciate him.
Now, I think of a couple of things here, Gnarly. One, my younger nephew, Ty, was notorious for playing basketball in the driveway. He really conditioned his feet to be tough,
So he played barefoot in the driveway.
Yes, he did a great job. So I think of that. I also think of like the cities that you would like to be barefoot in and the cities you would not like to be barefoot in. Like, where does New York City rank in the pecking order there?
Well, I'm thinking way up there. I think that's like probably number 1. I mean, more people. San Francisco and New York, I would not want to have my feet touch the ground. There's a lot of street people. There's a lot of homeless. There's a lot of drug paraphernalia.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. If you're keeping it real, yeah, that's something to consider. I thought more terrain. I like the angle you're going on, but the terrain, what New York City, I'll say this, so populated, you might get stepped on. You got to think about that. It's not just what you're stepping on, it's who might be stepping on you, right?
Someone could be throwing a penny off the Empire State Building just to do that experiment.
Yeah.
Right in the head.
Or pinky toe. And then you're out for 2 weeks.
The naked cowboy. You got him. You're running from him, maybe, and you're like stepping in gum. People don't just throw gum away. It's right out the mouth. Boom.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting thing, man. If you show up to Good Morning Football after walking barefoot, it'd be one thing if you were walking in shoes the whole time and then just took your shoes off and walked on set. That's different. But if you're walking around barefoot all day, whole different category.
Foot on the table, clear as bell, black feet. Like, oh, that is a well-soiled foot. And who knows if you took the underground or the subway to get there. I don't know. But he didn't care. He didn't care.
Wow.
But his hair's immaculate. He's got that Troy Polamato hair, and it was in full glory, and it looked well kept. Because if you don't keep that hair kept, it's dreadlocks. It turns into dreadlocks. Dreadlocks are dirty as far as it's just the oils and stuff make your hair stick together.
I think that the Raiders PR department, they need to go on a tweeting spree. It should be everything about Mac Hollins' feet to shift the focus from Davante Adams' shove, right? It should be a full court press on, check out Mac Hollins. Look at what he's walking to the training facility. He's in New York City barefoot. It should be Mac Hollins barefoot 24/7 to try to shift the focus away from Davante.
They get a theme song like I walked through the desert on a foot with no shoes. It's kidding. I mean, there is something there. He lives in the desert, and that's tough. If it's too hot, it'll burn, But he said,
I also wonder, like Antonio Brown, remember when his feet were frozen with the Raiders? Did he walk around New York City barefoot? If he were to do it, that's the time.
That's the exact opposite. He went frozen foot, where Hollins is like, no, man, you condition your feet by walking around barefoot. I just did it for the first time. My feet are tough because I'd much rather play without shoes. I mean,
yeah, it's the old school cryogenic chamber. Is you just walk around barefoot. You don't have to have your feet frozen.
The doctors say there's something about people that eat dirt as a child. You get immunity. So maybe same with the feet. Maybe get those feet in the dirt and build up some tough skin, some leather. Not everybody gets a nice pair of shoes.
I like it, man. I like this whole headline here. It's awesome.
Well, and the funny part was, I guess he lives in Florida. And he scuba dives. He's on the beach, and the guys were saying, "Hey, well, I'm just kind of getting a nudist vibe here. And are you there yet?" He goes, "Well, I'm pretty much. I wear a small pair of shorts, and that's it. So I can see where people can make that connection. I do wear a loincloth or something, but." Maybe he'd be the first NFL's naked player. Not that I really want that to happen, but what an advantage. You talk about.
Yeah. I'm going to keep an eye on. I like what you bring up about the barefoot kickers, and it's always just one foot. I don't know if there have been dual barefoot kickers. They always have the cleat for their plant leg, but we have yet to see a barefoot wide receiver. That's for sure.
That would be there can't be a rule against it. Or do you think there is a rule that you must have the proper equipment?
I would imagine there is. I don't know. Like, my thing is, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe he would get a fine, but he was allowed to play. I don't quite know how that would work. I'm not sure. He'd probably have to wear his socks, I'm guessing. I don't know. The fashion police, they might knock him for that.
Well, he could write Pete Rozelle on his feet, just kind of like the Jim McMahon move. Look it up, kids. Look it up. It really happened. But, I mean, I don't know.
I like that. The old school Rozelle around his neck, the headband. Yeah. Maybe it's the new school Goodell around your ankle area. I don't know, right?
Hey, I really don't want to dwell on this Davante Adams thing, but he is getting his number retired tomorrow at Fresno State. They're retiring number 15. I have a chance to be in the press conference, so do you have a question I could throw at him for us? I mean, well, excuse me, Mr. Adams. Brian Noe wants to know what. You have a question for Davante?
The first thing is, if you this is what not to do, but as a joke, just be like, yeah, Davante, be all serious. Davante, if I have to grab my tape recorder before this interview is over, are you gonna shove me off the stage? I just want to know. You could say something like that.
Well, what if there's a cameraman in there? I'm going to say, hey, that guy just called you a name, Davante. I'm going to try to start a fight.
That's another good approach to take. I like that. Yeah.
Well, I really, if I'm going to fire a bad question, a shover, then I need to come up with a good one first and throw that one out there. But,
yeah. Now's the time, right? Because he can't shove.
Yeah.
So now is the time to ask all of your shove-worthy questions, because it's too hot right now. He can't shove you.
He cannot shove. Well, okay, so that's another thing. Have you seen the shove theories now? That it was a setup and that the guy, there's other angles now. There's reverse angles where it's not so bad. Clearly it's a shove, but.
Yeah, it's totally a shove. My goodness. I can just imagine certain, not all, certain Raider fans It's never the Raiders players' fault. It's never the team's fault. It's always the officials. It's always this photographer or whatever camera guy who it was a setup. He purposefully walked in front of Davante. Davante is absolved of all blame whatsoever. It's just crazy to me, man. At times, the Raiders are wrong. Davante was wrong.
Have you seen that commercial where he's got a Taco Bell in his house and it's just his? Okay, so now is that because he'll shove you out of the way and then they can do it? Or is he kind of has a little snippy attitude to the Taco Bell employee? And I'm like going, Davante, this is not a good look. You're the only customer. You really should be nicer to this guy. I mean, because I worked at Taco Bell, and if I got a little attitude, I sometimes my hand would slip and I'd crunch your tacos on the counter accidentally. I mean, like, oh, really?
It's an interesting theory that Davante is so unruly waiting for his crunchy tacos that they had to install his own personal Taco Bell at his house to cut down on the unruliness.
Oh, the Taco Bell whiplashes that were happening nationwide.
By the way, your least favorite Taco Bell item and your favorite Taco Bell item, what would you say that is?
Well, I think the Bell Beefer, and they took it off the menu just because it was their attempt to make a hamburger, and it just didn't work out. And then I have one that's both. The flour, they got rid of these too. It was a taco light. It was a flour tortilla, but it just was not strong enough to hold anything. It was going to fall apart no matter what. But it tasted delicious. But once again, they had to get rid of it because, it's the only restaurant that has 5 ingredients and 85 items. So that's a tough call.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know that I've tried anything beyond crunchy tacos.
Yeah.
Like I've had nachos. That's it. I don't know if I've tried anything else. Now, you could label that as boring, which it is, or you could label that as the epitome of loyal, right? I am loyal, Gnarly. So if I find something I love, I find something that works for me, like crunchy tacos, I just go back to the well again and again and again.
I think that's where we're different because for me, I want that new thing. I want that shiny new thing. Oh, this taco's got Bluetooth capability. Well, hell, I gotta have 3 of them. I don't even know what that means. So
I like that approach too. I like it. You don't just stick with what you like. You try new things and expand and see what else you like. That's cool too. I love that approach.
You know what's weird? Right, we're doing this show. I'm on my computer here in the studio, and no lie, a notification from Taco Bell just popped up. Right now. And I'm thinking either they're watching the show, right? Which they probably are, or that's pretty incredible. Maybe it's a sign from God. I don't know.
I got to tell you a quick Taco Bell story, Gnarly. You'll like this. So this is when I was living in the Portland area. And so I go to the Taco Bell drive-thru, order my standard 3 crunchy tacos, regular Mountain Dew, not Baja Blast, regular Mountain Dew.
That's a number 3 is what you're talking about.
It varies from state to state, but whatever it is, and my nachos and cheese. And so I go to the drive-up window, and the guy goes, it's free. The car in front of you paid for it. And I'm like, that's awesome. That's nice. And so I had in my head, like, free tacos. Yay. And then I got my order, and I can't remember what I asked him, but he said, oh, yeah, they've been doing it for like the last 5 or 6 cars. They just pay for the car in back of them. Right. And I'm like, oh, cool. So I had in my head, free tacos. I don't have to pay. And I was like literally starting to drive off. And I'm just like, screw it. And I drove off. And I immediately felt bad. I'm like, I should have paid for the car in back of me. I should have kept it going. No. So I went back there a couple of weeks later. And I look in my rearview mirror, solo guy. And I'm like, okay, it's going to be, I don't know, like $10, something like that. It cost me almost $30. I don't know. I don't know what he ordered. And it was a whole house full, but I ended up paying it. And I thought it was funny. I got what I deserved there.
Well, no, but here's the thing. So that is a forced peer pressure trying to do a good deed. And is it really a good deed? Because really, you got your stuff for free, so you're just buying. So really, Taco Bell's the only winner on that. Everybody's like, "Oh, that's so sweet. Let's keep it going." Well, It's like the person that brings bags to the grocery store, which is fine, but he makes a big deal out of it. Like turns around and like, yeah, I care about the environment. I do. Look at it. or every dog, it's a rescue. It's a rescue. I'm like, this is just you pointing at yourself. So I would have said to that guy, like, I'm not going to play your games. I'm not going to play your game. The only one that wins is the last one, the one that takes a stand and says, I'm not buying it. That's the winner. That's how that game ends.
You know what would be funny is if I just gave the next guy's order. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I just love that. I might do that next time. I might do that. I might give $1 toward the car in back of me their order, because I just want the drive-through person to explain that, like, hey, it was $9.60. It's actually $8.60 because the car in front of you gave $1. Like, I just find that to be hilarious.
Or if I'm buying it, don't I get to pick what they eat? All right. He wants 4 tacos, no meat, all onion and lettuce. That's what he wants. And I'm willing to pay for that.
And I've yet to see grocery bag guy. I've yet to see that. It's
usually they bring in, and they probably paid a couple extra bucks for these nice handmade knitted bags, and they're just it's fine that you bring your bag, but it's the turn to look down the line and be like, yes, I brought bags, and you did not. I see. Too bad you're not as good as me. I'm gonna rest. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
To me, it's just a lot of, pointing the thumbs at yourself and slapping your own chest, and that gets annoying to me.
I want to donate. A lot of the checkout, they ask you if you want to donate $1 or $5 or whatever. I haven't seen the same chest puffed out like, I just gave $3.
Right. Well, I mean, as a joke, sometimes I do a lot of work with Children's Hospital, Valley Children's Hospital. They're a big supporter. And if the place says, hey, I'd like to, you want to donate or round up? I go, what's it for? He goes, Valley Children's Hospital. I go, oh my gosh, I hate kids. No. Then I go, no, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But when you say that, you just, the face of just this, but I can't even last very long. I have to say, I'm kidding within 4 seconds.
Right.
It's too brutal.
What's it for? Kids? No, I'm good. No, thanks.
Forget that. There's a reason I got a vasectomy, buddy. That's right. Okay, this has gone wrong. We are going to celebrate Devontae Adams at Valley Children's Hospital Stadium, though. That's going to be big. That's happening on Saturday, tomorrow. So,
and shout out to him. He had an outstanding college career with Derek Carr, obviously. And we got to see more. Like you saw, his stat line was crazy. 3 catches, well over 100 yards, couple of touchdown grabs. It was crazy what happened on Monday night. But you got to see more. It was really week 1 against the Chargers, had a great game. And he's had a couple of touchdown grabs here and there, but you want to see more receptions, more receiving yards, all of that. I thought it would be better than what it is thus far.
I think the Brian Note challenge would be, can you work the word shove into a question to Devontae Adams without getting in trouble? I mean, there's got to be a way to do that.
What was it? I think it was Wes Welker. Remember him, the wide receiver? So when Rex Ryan had the foot fetish thing,
that's right. I remember.
He had all of these references to feet and we're good little foot soldiers. And like, how many shoves can you work into your question without him being like, okay, dude, I clearly see what you're doing here.
Competition is not a pushover. And, it's like when I'm shoveling snow,
Yeah.
I work no and shove in that one right there.
Yeah, man. If you can work in a shove that goes undetected, props to you.
Okay, that's my challenge. That's with my last interview ever with Devontae Adams, but I'm going to try to do that for you. So
I hope so, dude. I really do hope you pull that off. If anyone can, it's you.
Brian, no. Thank you for being on the show. You are not a pushover. You just shove it right back in my face, and I love it every week. Okay.
Thank you very much, Gnarls. Always good to hang with you. Let's get the silver and black back on track after the bye week. Let's go on a run of wins over here.
Dude, that rhymed. You're like Dr. Seuss that. Let's get the silver and black back on track.
Back on track. That's right.
You just did it. All right. Brian Noe, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
We'll be back with more Inside the Patch on 1430 ESPN, your official home of the Las Vegas Raiders.